The following story was submitted by a former reservations agent for the Travel Corporation in Cypress, California. About 3 years ago, I started working for the Travel Corporation as a reservations agent. While I was happy to be working at this company, I noticed that there were not many Black people. In the 2 years that I worked there, I counted less than 10 Black people within the corporation. After my first full year, it was time for a performance review with my manager. During my review, he commented on my work ethic and how he appreciates how organized and thorough I was when it came to my work. He highlighted that I exceeded all of the productivity metrics and that I had a bright future with the company if I kept it up. I was excited because I take pride in my work and of course I wanted to make an impression and prove that I'm an asset to the company. Plus, a good review meant a raise. My excitement turned to disappointment when my manager added a "but" to the conversation. "You're a great employee, but..." He told me that he and some of my other supervisors felt that I wasn't social enough with my coworkers. I didn't know what that meant, so I asked him if he could clarify. He told me that I was always quiet in the office and he would like to see me interact more. I explained to him that I exchanged general pleasantries with my coworkers, but I never felt like I was antisocial. Every day, I made sure to say, "Hello, how are you? How was your weekend? What do you have planned after work?" etc. Surface level conversation. I never went into great detail about my personal life, and I believe that's what he was alluding to. They didn't know anything about me outside of work, except general info about my family and a few friends that I mentioned when I briefly talked about my weekend. My manager's criticism about my sociability was deeply disturbing to me. It made me feel like he was accusing me of having something to hide. Like I was unapproachable and standoffish, when really I'm shy and I'm generally quiet outside of friends and family. I excelled at the job I was hired to do, and they just couldn't let me be great. They had to find something wrong with me. Because of this criticism, I received a needs improvement on the ability to work well with others section of my review. I worked well with all my coworkers when we needed to collaborate on work projects, so the needs improvement mark was extremely unjustified. My philosophy has always been, do your job and go home. I try to maintain professional boundaries with coworkers. I don't treat them as friends. Plus, I feel like if I talked too much and was too social, it would be an excuse to say I wasn't productive enough. You can't win. Since that day, I stopped trying as hard as I did before. My morale and work ethic dropped severely. I gave my absolute best within the first year, and they found a way to turn it into a bad thing. How can I, a Black woman, not be allowed to be quiet or reserved, but another coworker can be awkward and reserved and not be met with the same judgment? I swear, one coworker in particular was so socially awkward that she didn't like to be bothered, so they either left her alone or treated her like a child that needed to be coddled. It wasn't fair. I felt like I shouldn't have been criticized for not wanting to be friends with my coworkers. You hired me to do a job, and that's what I did. If my reserved demeanor makes someone else feel uncomfortable, that's not my problem. Do you want me to be social, or do you want me to be productive? First of all, I want to say thank you for sharing that story with us. Like a disproportionate amount of my Black friends, even the extroverted people, have had some sort of remark during a performance review about how social they are. They just show up, do their job, and go home and spend time with the friends and family that they've chosen. So many Black people have told me that the past couple of months being able to work from home has been a godsend for them because they're not having to make surface level conversation with their coworkers every day and talk about things that might be triggering. I think that a lot of our white coworkers and bosses don't necessarily understand the reasons why we're maybe not super social. Our white coworkers might be well-intentioned with their small talk, but a lot of times it can just turn into microaggressions. I mean, if you've worked with me for 2 whole years and it's still a complete surprise to you every time I come in with braids, I don't want to have to keep explaining to you how that works. There's this great thing called Google. And I like that you bring up the fact that there was a white coworker who essentially seemed to get away with doing the exact same thing, but your coworkers had a different response to them. Especially because I know that I've seen firsthand other coworkers who seemingly mind their business, put in headphones for a whole 8 hours, barely talk to anybody else, never go to the happy hours, and they don't get treated the same way that I do if I decide to do the same things. If I had a dime for every single time that I was told I wasn't social enough, I'd probably be rich enough to not be working. You're basically telling me that my work is perfectly fine, but you don't like my personality. That's not my problem. We don't choose our coworkers. We choose the work. So if I'm not particularly social with the people around me, but I want to still do this work, that should be enough for my boss. And what's worse is that I know that sometimes the grade that you get on these reviews also correlates to a sliding scale of how much your raise will be. So if I'm getting marks for my sociability and not for my actual aptitude at the job, I might be missing out on a couple of dollars, couple thousands, couple however much in my increase in pay for the next year. So if you have any thoughts, questions, comments, love to share with this person, please go ahead and let's talk about it in the comments down below. And particularly, if you are a non-Black person, can you let me know if you've ever had a performance review where they talked about your sociability and whether or not you interact enough with coworkers? I don't think that that's something I've heard a lot from my non-Black coworkers and friends. I'd love to discuss it in the comments down below. And once again, thank you all for listening, as well as thank you to the person who shared.